have to say this. Are you ready? I am my greatest marriage problem. I am my greatest marriage problem. I am my greatest marriage problem. Wives, say it to yourself. Because when you begin to say that, you have started walking down the pathway of change. Husbands, say it to yourself. Because when you do, you have begun to walk down the pathway of change. Enough of the blame. Enough of the accusation. Enough of pointing the fingers. Enough of making ourselves righteous by pointing at the sin of another person. It doesn't work. It never leads to change. It never leads to peace. It never leads to reconciliation. It leads to a horrible, angry, self-righteous standoff that locks your marriage into a place where change will never take place. Doesn't work. Doesn't work. And that's why I've got to say, I am my greatest marriage problem. Because you have two people that say that. You have the beginnings of remarkable, transformational, glorious change that can happen in that relationship. Look back at Luke 6 because I want to say one more thing to you. Notice the example that Christ uses here. It's the example of a tree. It's a wonderful, wonderful example because it's so simple to understand. Think about this. What's the best way to recognize an apple tree? By apples. But you know this is true. If you look up and you see apples, you instinctively know that that tree is appleistic all the way down to its roots. If it didn't have appleism in its roots, it wouldn't grow apples as fruit. You will never plant peach pits and get apples. If you plant peach pits and get apples, run. Run fast, run far, run long. Something terrible has happened to the universe. And so what you have there is the principle of organic consistency. The principle of organic consistency. There's an organic consistency between what is in my heart and what comes out of my words and my behavior. Now that means this. Marriage problems are not first behavior problems. Marriage problems are not first communication problems. Marriage problems are heart problems. If you don't fix the heart, you don't fix the marriage. Pretend with me that I have a huge apple tree in my backyard in Philadelphia. I live in Center City, so I neither have a yard nor a tree. Kind of hard to have a tree in your backyard when you're on the second floor, but pretend. And every year it grows twisted, brown, pulpy, inedible apples, organic hockey pucks. And my wife comes to me and says, Paul, it doesn't make any sense for us to have this apple tree and we can never eat these apples. Can't you do something for our apple tree? And I think and I ponder, I love this woman, I want to help her, and so I say, I've come up with a good idea. I think I can fix our tree. Saturday, I'm going to do that. Saturday morning, Luella looks out the window and she sees me carrying these items. I'm carrying a big tall ladder, a pair of branch cutters, an industrial-grade pneumatic nail gun, and 3 bushels of red delicious apples. And I climb up the ladder and I cut all the apples off the tree and I very symmetrically nail 3 bushels of red delicious apples on that tree. From 100 yards you would think this man must be the horticulturalist of the century. If you're my wife, what are you thinking? You're thinking this is the big one. The doctor said he'd be this way if he lived.